Now we'll go to the lightning round. They've got Deb Stevenson has some questions, Congressman, if you don't mind, which are in the yes or no category. And Deb, you are going to have to bellow them out for the benefit of the people here in the hall.
I will try to do so.
Okay.
Keeping in mind that there are many here who expect that if they vote for you to represent them as a senator, that you actually will do in Washington what you say today you will do, that you are saying today what you mean, and that you mean what you say, that you will act as you say you will, please answer the following questions with a yes or no only. Okay? Will you vote in favor of funding the Race to the Top program?
The Race to the Top program. Give me some more details.
Funding education?
Oh, absolutely.
Auditing the Fed?
Yes.
The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child?
I haven't read it. Anybody read it? UN Convention on the Rights of the Child?
Yeah,
Let me read it. That's the best way to do it. Mark, make a note. I haven't said yes or no. Let me read it. Okay?
Deportation of illegal immigrants?
Yes, I've already voted for that.
A balanced federal budget?
Yes, but. And the but is in times of war. I think that can be dangerous. But pretty much I voted for a balanced budget. But I've also voted at a time when we used deficits to cover the cost of war. So I don't want to be misleading on that.
It was a yes or no. But anyway. Ending the Fed?
Ending the Fed? No.
Ooh.
Drilling for oil in ANWR or elsewhere in the U.S.?
I've already voted to drill for oil in ANWR.
Elimination of any federal agencies or programs?
Absolutely.
Bailouts for businesses too big to fail?
There's no such business too big to fail in our country. Only the government.
Yes or no?
Oh.
No.
Read it again.
No.
Bailouts for businesses too big to fail?
No.
Full body scanners in airports?
Oh, man. Full body scanners. What do you think, everybody? I don't think they work.
No.
So it's a no.
Invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
Funding for civilian trials of terrorists?
Absolutely not.
Holding terrorist trials in Connecticut?
No, absolutely.
Congressman, let me ask you a few questions briefly that I have from folks in the audience. I'm going to do it this way off of the cards if I can. If I start calling on people, my apologies. But I know a lot of you will have questions and it'll get a little hairy. We're practically at the end of our time anyway.
We don't want to get hairy, do we?
No. Thank you so much, Hey, let me ask you one that I got from a friend here.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, you're willing to submit to their questioning?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Look, I talk to everybody.
Wait, can I ask something?
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. He spent tons of paperwork and not responded back to us. And
Where did it come?
you have to take the test and go through the process like everybody else.
Talk to me afterwards.
I will.
Okay.
There's a new PAC formed in Connecticut, Connecticut Citizens for Ballot Initiatives. How do you feel about ballot initiative and referendum?
I always thought it was a good idea, but you have to change the Constitution to do it, and that's hard. That's hard to do. And there have been examples in California and elsewhere where they have done it. In some instances, it's resulted in good outcomes. In other instances, not so good. But I'm a believer that the state has to, essentially amend its constitution to apply those things. I did vote for a constitutional amendment, a constitutional cap on spending some years ago. So I'm not afraid to do that. But I will tell you that there are some people, Bob Barr is one of them, there are others out there who say that every time you amend the Constitution, you weaken it. So, I mean, that's something that has to be taken into account. Every time you amend the Constitution, it's kind of like doing surgery. Every time you amend the Constitution, you weaken it. Quite frankly, I think some of the amendments that we've had are pretty damn good. like the right of women to vote. Anybody got a problem with that? but it has to be taken into account.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I might kind of combine these questions. One is, how has your campaign strategy changed since Chris Dodd's departure from the race?
We got new bumper stickers and new posters.
And how do you deal with, let's say, politicians who have millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars?
Millions and millions. Who could that be? I can't imagine. With regard to Senator Dodd deciding not to run for re-election, we had a plan B that we discussed last year, should that take place. Should he become ill? Should he decide not to run away from Chris Ford and his camera folks? Should he just decide that, look, 36 years is enough. He's got a young family, a wife and children, the whole thing. We didn't know who the replacement would be, whether it be Bill Curry, Susan Beisowitz, Chris Murphy, Dick Blumenthal. We had no idea who it would be. But my basic, I know, make a face for the cameras, I love it. But my basic feeling was that under the circumstances, you can change the face, but you won't change the race. And I'll tell you why I believe that. I accept that Senator Dodd had some personal issues that had seriously degraded his popularity here in the state of Connecticut. But what he was also doing over the last year, where his numbers weren't moving, was he was coming back to Connecticut with a special amendment for AIG, a bailout for the banks, a stimulus package, government-run health care with a government option and a carve-out for members of Congress. I mean, he was very busy bringing an awful lot of unsavory and unpopular legislation back from his leadership. And every time Harry Reid was standing up and saying, here's something new that we're going to force down your throat, Senator Dodd would be standing right next to him nodding and saying, isn't that great? So you see, it wasn't just about his personal problems. It was about the problems that his party has, that they've hijacked our Congress, and they're giving us programs and policies that we don't want. Now the question is, what's his position going to be? What is Attorney General Blumenthal going to do as a candidate? We already know that in the first few days of his candidacy, he failed to answer questions on state and national level TV. I mean, here's a guy who's running for the Senate who doesn't have a position on the stimulus, or bringing KSM to New York or New Haven, or whether or not there should be civilian trials, or whether or not we should be paying hundreds of millions of dollars for somebody who killed our fellow citizens. So he has not been responsive. He needs to be responsive. We need to make him responsive. We need to make him answer the questions. And I would argue that as he begins to answer the questions along the party line that he is, that his numbers are going to come down. In fact, in the Rasmussen poll that came out this week, he lost 10 points. Instead of being 30 points up over me, he's now 20 points up over me. That's happened in a couple of weeks.